Hi everyone. Today is Wednesday, June 10th, 2026. I'm Crystal Dawn Hill, and I'm continuing the video that I just did from being outside in the rain. So I'm back in, I got some dry clothes on, and I was a little concerned because just as I was going in the door, before I was able to turn my phone off, somebody walked by, and I was hoping that his face didn't show in the video, because then I would have had to edit it and everything, and I didn't want to do that. So thankfully a little bit of his voice got in there, but his face didn't show, so I'm really glad about that. So I'll be uploading that video after I finish recording this one, but I wanted to do this one while I'm just fresh inside and wanting to share everything. So excuse me. So, as I was saying, when I came in the door, my vision correlated with UAP, and I feel like this rain that we just received correlates with my vision of a UAP when I was 12 years old. And I'm really, really excited about this. Not because I'm making it up in my head or because I believe. It's what I feel inside of me. And those feelings have been very true and accurate for my entire life, ever since my first initiation, and really even before that, but especially after that. And I became a little bit more aware of my abilities and my gifts. So I've told this story countless times to people directly, but I've never shared it openly on my YouTube channel as far as I can recall. So when I was 12 years old, my family and I were having dinner, and it started to rain. And I was finished eating, I believe, and we were just kind of all sitting there talking. And I excused myself and went out into the rain. And my grandmother lived with us at the time, and she's like, "What are you doing going out in the rain?" But I really felt called out into the rain. And when I went out, I stood there and let the rain pour down. And of course, at the time, I just thought it was rain, and I didn't understand why it felt so different. And I wouldn't have understood it until many years later, when I had my bona fide awakening with my divine masculine. But before then, like, I would just try to figure it out, and it was either that same day or another day within a short space of time when I had a vision of my deceased grandmother, as I was saying in the first video. Now, I've mentioned both of my grandmothers. The grandmother that lived with us at the time I went out into the rain was my maternal grandmother. And my paternal grandmother passed away when I was 3 months old, and I never got to meet her. And that's who was in my vision. And I didn't even know what she looked like at the time. But I don't think I had ever seen a picture of her to my recollection. But I just felt her. And I felt like I was being communicated to. And that's how the rain made me feel, that I walked out into that day at 12 years old. And I've never talked about this on my channel. I talk about twin flame, and occasionally I talk about my own personal spiritual experiences, but I've never really talked about UAP. And yesterday, when I watched the gathering at the Capitol building, the gathering of the Congress people and the whistleblowers, I felt something different about that than all the other different congressional events that has been aired in the past. And it was very reminiscent of everything that I was shown during my first initiation. Now, I'm not saying it was the same thing or that it's the culmination of all that. I'm just saying that the energy felt very similar. And So this morning when I got up to use the bathroom and I could smell something different in the air, I said out loud, "We need rain." And at the time, I just felt like we needed rain, which really didn't make any sense to me in my cognitive thinking because we had just had like a week's worth of rain. So, speaking in terms of the condition of our, ground and everything, we really didn't need the rain. But I felt inclined to say that out loud. And when I came back to bed, I realized that what I had said was more of a spiritual nature than topographically. And so I started to get excited. And when I got up for good this morning and looked out, it didn't look sunny, but didn't look like it was going to rain either. It looked like just overcast that would clear out, and it would turn out to be a sunny day. So about an hour and a half ago, about an hour before I went outside, I was sitting here and I heard this sound, and I talked about this in my first video when I was outside, so I won't go into all that, but I just knew it was raining. When I looked out, I saw it, and I was so excited because it was that same kind of rain that I experienced when I was 12. And I felt it in my bones, but I knew that I needed to be out in it to know for sure. So when I went out, I stood on the porch and talked to a neighbor for a few minutes, and it wasn't raining, or at least I couldn't see that it was raining. And I stepped out from underneath the shelter, and I could feel a little bit of sprinkle, but I had my raincoat on and I had the bag to protect my phone, so I wasn't really concerned about it. So I was going to go over to a picnic table that overlooks the mountain, and by the time I got over there, it was just pouring. The wind was starting to pick up and everything. And of course, when I came back in and got my dry clothes on and got settled, it stopped, and now it looks like the sun's starting to come out again, and which is fine. I'm good with that. I can still tell the story, but I just wanted to share a video of myself out in that rain when feeling giddy and telling the story, because I've never told it out loud to everybody before. I've told it to personal friends and family. So anyway, after the vision when I was 12, it stuck with me, but it took all these years of meditating on it and progressively learning more and more about what it meant. And so yesterday, when I saw the gathering at the Capitol building, and it felt different. Like, what really got me about that was, what everyone said was very impressive and impactful, but especially when Mr. Grush spoke, there was a sternness in his voice and in his energy that really made a very deep imprint on me. And that's when I knew this one was going to be different. And this is actually what made me feel compelled to start talking a little bit more openly about this, because it's like the middle ground between the divisiveness of 3D and 5D. And I know that they want to divulge much more than what they're allowed to. And based on what I was shown when I was 12, that information is not about the technological side of what's going on. It's more to do with the abstract and the sort of woo-woo side of it. But if they reach a point where they're allowed to divulge everything, it's not going to be as woo-woo as people think it is now. the reason they think of it that way is because they don't understand it, because they haven't experienced it. Or if they have experienced it, they still don't understand the full encompassment of what it is. So I just had a feeling yesterday. I just had this strong feeling. And then when I could smell the rain this morning, hours before it came, I knew that that meant something as well. And immediately I could feel the correlation between this rain and yesterday. And so when I could feel that, I meditated on what it meant. And this is the most amazing, mind-blowing part of it for me. The rain contained information. And just like the rain that I stood out in when I was 12 years old, when I couldn't really understand the information that I was being downloaded with, that's what I feel today. And if I let my intellectual mind interfere, it could feel scary or make me feel uneasy or uncertain. So I'm overriding that and looking deeper into my energy. And my energy is like this little giddy schoolgirl that's excited and very much in a heightened sense of anticipation for what this is all going to mean. And that's kind of how I felt when I was 12, except I didn't think it was real because I had never received anything to validate it. And on top of that, you know, people convinced me that that when I had feelings like I didn't tell them about this particular incident, but when I would share other little things to kind of dip my toe in to see how people would react to me, you know, they had an adverse reaction. And so I eventually started to believe that it was my imagination. And I didn't know that many other people were experiencing this until many years later when my family and I got our first computer and I started doing research and found out that many people are experiencing the same kind of thing. And so that was my initial awakening. The period of time when I was 12, I call that my first initiation and not awakening, because even though I was aware that there was something going on, I wasn't consciously aware of what it was. I didn't learn what it was until I was around age 30. And then I had my full-blown Kundalini experience and full awakening when I was age 50 and met my divine masculine. So that's about all I wanted to share today. The focus of this message was about the correlation between the rain and what took place yesterday in Washington. I'm really excited. I hope this video resonates with you. And if you have, you know, any questions or comments or would like to share your experience regarding UAP or your intuition, you know, or how the rain seems to have a spiritual effect on you, please share your stories. And feel free to reach out, you know, to me on my YouTube page or Facebook. And thank you for listening. I wish you all a great day and take care.